Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to part 3 of Sculpting the Skull. Now, in this video, it will be a little bit different, because at this stage, it's a little bit difficult to kind of describe and talk about what I'm doing. A lot of the major or bigger considerations have already been made at this point, and I know I mentioned staying flexible in the last episode, and at this point in the process, I'm not, the sculpture is not very flexible. And I am kind of locked into a lot of the decisions that I have made previously. However, you will see me, like I just did, go back and kind of deal with bigger considerations, big consideration would, for example, be outline of the head from the front, and of course the profile from the side view. And I will do that, and I will also work on smaller considerations, doing more detailed work like teeth, or at some point I'll start getting into transitions in between the forms, which we call modeling. But I'm always coming back to the bigger considerations, and I always try to come back to that. And at this stage, it can be very easy to stay on top of your sculpture and always work with the smaller considerations, details. But it is important to step back and try to get back to those bigger considerations again, trying to always adjust those and see what the sculpture looks like from afar. Those smaller considerations could potentially impact the way that the sculpture ends up looking as well, and if they can take attention away from the bigger considerations. Meaning, for example, that if I spent a ton of time detailing out the teeth and they were the darkest part, the highest contrast part of the sculpture, perhaps they would take too much attention. And as I spoke of in the last video, this is not a sculpture of the skull, it's not a sculpture of teeth, it's a sculpture of a skull. So that needs to visually read as a sculpture of a skull from afar, not have the teeth jump out at us too much, at least. But at this stage, there are a lot of smaller considerations being made, because that's essentially what needs to be done for the sculpture to progress at this point. Now, I know I mentioned that I would make a separate video on tools, but I will talk a little bit about a couple of the tools that I'm using in this video, because we are getting a lot more into tools. At this stage of a sculpture, there's a lot of tool work being done. And I'll put some links in the description as well for the tools that I am using, so you can go and buy them yourselves if you want, or have a look at them at least. The two places that I have tools from is a place in New York City called The Complete Sculptor, and a place in the UK called Tiranti. All my loop tools and rake tools are either Kemper or Sculpture House, and they're all from New York. And I think the loop and the rake tool, for some reason, seems to be kind of a staple of American sculpture. At the school, with my friends, we've often talked about trends, what is a trend in sculpture at the time. And I think that one of the trends, at least in American figurative sculpture for a while, was the rake tool. Everything had rake marks all over it. And whenever you see something that is a trend, that's nice. I mean, it's cool, it's nice, but that's somebody's trademark usually. So I usually try to stay away from things like that. But the rake tool it works very well. It's essentially a metal wire with small teeth cut into it. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to remove clay in a very even way. And also, by getting small scratch marks in the surface, kind of helps the surface not be as shiny and read a little bit better, I think, anyway. There's also the loop tool, which is the same thing, but without the teeth. And that's something, maybe it's more of a finishing tool. I like to use it to kind of smooth things out a little bit sometimes, but and that tool is a Kemper tool. Usually I use that for texture finishing and kind of finding areas where I will smooth the surface out a little bit more than others, and that's a good tool for that. The wooden tools from Tiranti is just a wooden spatula, and I find that wood tools kind of attack the clay in a little bit softer manner than metal. They feel light and nice in the hand, but that's really kind of a personal choice. I used to be all about metal spatulas and things like this, but then I got used to wood tools, and now that's really all I use. And I really, really like them. So instead of continuing to talk about what I'm doing here on the sculpture, because it's very small, they're very small considerations for the most part, you know, small adjustments, I'm going to talk about a couple of other things that I've been wanting to ask you guys for. One of them is feedback. And, you know, you can reach me. I'm on Facebook, Eirik Arnesen and Art. I'm on Instagram, Eirik Arnesen and Art. I have a website, eirikarnesen.com. You can find me in the comments on the YouTube video here. And I would like to, you know, for you people out there, the 3 or 4 of you who are watching this, it'd be nice to, you know, hear what you people think about the format. Now I understand that the camera work is not necessarily always the best. I have natural lighting, and I'm still, you know, struggling a little bit figuring out how cameras work, to be honest with you. I'm not the most technical person in the world, so it's taking a little bit longer than I would like, but you know, I'm thinking more in the fact of format. For example, do you prefer the speed that the videos happen at? Would you prefer do you prefer more of a close-up shot, or do you prefer more of a far out shot so you can see me moving back and forth a little bit more? So, you know, just let me know what you think. There's, again, links in the description to all the various places that you can find me and get in contact with me and give me some feedback on this. And of course, the comment section here on YouTube. I read every comment I get and every message I get. I read and respond to them. So, you know, let me know what you guys think anyway. Also, another thing that I've been working on that I wanted to mention, it's coming probably pretty soon, is I'm gonna start a Patreon page. And what that is going to be is essentially somewhere where you guys can support me with a little bit of money, and you can get something in return. That, depending on the amount of money, you will be able to get anything from plaster casts of things like the skull, or maquettes that I make before I make bigger sculptures, prints of high-resolution prints of pictures of sculptures, or you'll also be able to get, if you want to, if you're a sculptor yourself and would like some feedback on your work, there are several tier rewards for that. You can get feedback in a written format via email, or there'll also be a Patreon tier, as they call it on that website, for essentially Skype feedback. So, you know, we will look at your sculpture, and I will, you know, tell you what I think and what I know, and how I think that perhaps you can improve your sculpture. And I think it'll be perhaps a nice way for, you know, because I get a lot of emails, people asking for help and stuff, and it'd be nice to have more of a official channel for all that stuff. And I think perhaps doing it on video is probably a better option too, so you can actually move around the sculpture and things like this. And if we do it via email in a more official way, I can, you know, ask for or give some tips on how to take better photos of your sculpture, so they become a little bit easier to critique as well, which I think is going to be pretty important. Also, something that I wanted to mention, we're doing a lot of housekeeping. We're doing a lot of housekeeping this time around, which is okay at this stage anyway. There's not too much to be said, right, about the sculpting. If you like this is a small scale skull, and you know, if you like this sculpture and think it'd be useful to have, I'll be selling these on my website, eirikarnesen.com, and I'll be selling plaster casts of these, so you'll be able to get these, and I'll ship worldwide, you know, and we'll work all that out once we kind of, doesn't really matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to get these if you want to. And I'll also be selling maquettes that I make. Usually I make a small scale maquette to kind of figure out my design before I make a larger sculpture, so those will also be sold as plaster casts. So if you're interested in that, have a look at that. It'll be up on eirikarnesen.com as soon as I finish this sculpture. I think this will probably be one of the first items I put up there. And there's not too much time left for me to finish this. I might need, you know, another two, 3 sessions, maybe 1 session even. It kind of depends if I run out of patience with this or not. The skull is very fun to sculpt, but it's not the most interesting thing. And I also have a big project with a model coming up that I've just started. I've actually spent two sessions with him making the maquette for this next project. And probably next week or the week after that, I'll put out some videos on the making of the maquette. On tomorrow, which is going to be Monday for me, maybe not for you, probably not actually, I will be making the armature, and it'll be a 3/4 scale seated figure. So the armature is not necessarily the most complex thing, but I think I get a lot of questions about armature making, and it is very, very important. So I think it'll be good. Hopefully it'll be helpful for some of you guys to see how I go about making armatures. And of course we'll film the sculpting of that project as well, which I'm really, really excited about. I have a great model. I think I have a pretty decent design, and I'm very, very excited to show you guys this, and hopefully you guys will like it as well. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and the red subscribe button if you already haven't, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.